Are you ready to unlock the potential of cryptocurrency? Welcome to Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club, the premier destination for crypto enthusiasts and investors worldwide. Our mission? To demystify cryptocurrency and create a supportive community where you can learn, network, and grow. Imagine being part of a thriving crypto ecosystem in various cities around the world. In our first year, we're establishing physical hubs in key cities and launching an informative website. You'll have access to exclusive events, expert-led sessions, and a wealth of resources at your fingertips. Year 2 brings expanded educational programs and a mentorship system to pair crypto newbies with seasoned investors. We're not just a club, we're a movement. Our annual crypto conference will put us on the map as a global crypto capital. By year 3, we'll have our own app, a community investment fund, and a thriving ecosystem of crypto opportunities. Imagine being part of a group that's shaping the future of finance. Join us for workshops, seminars, and networking events designed to boost your crypto knowledge and investment potential. From beginners to experts, there's a place for everyone in our vibrant community. Together, we'll navigate the exciting world of digital currencies and blockchain technology. Ready to take control of your financial future and be part of something revolutionary? Experience our exclusive resort in El Salvador, a paradise for crypto enthusiasts. Call or text 941-391-3882 to join our Owners Weekly Call and start your journey with Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club today.
Good morning. Welcome to the Bitcoin Thursdays with Dr. J. I'm Dr. J. And welcome you to the show. I'm speaking from the Sarasota Club of the Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club. And this is a show that we are going to be doing every Thursday, discussing all things Bitcoin, politics, policy, and so on and so forth. Delighted that Bitcoin Ben has been pushing the idea of Bitcoin for the masses, but we're going to bring it home because some of the big boys are getting involved. First, I'll start by saying God is good. He put President Trump in office, and like me, I'm sure many of you online right now are just walking on water for the last 24 days with the changes that have been going on in Washington, in politics, in policy, and right across the spectrum. Of course, we want to focus in on the facets of the administration that affect us in the Bitcoin and crypto world. So one of the very first executive orders that President Trump signed, as many of you may know, was to set up a working group to identify opportunities for the federal government to engage in buying cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, and to understand how it can stabilize the financial system, put down the debt, and potentially bring a better future and wealth creation for American people and around the world for that matter. So Cynthia Lummis is one of the U.S. senators, and I want to focus in on what we are doing locally and what are some of the new developments that will potentially impact the price of Bitcoin, and that means the price and the value of your wallet. So it is important for us to understand what are the facets of politics and policies that are affecting and potentially going to be affecting the price of Bitcoin in specific, but crypto in general. So Cynthia Lummis is a U.S. senator, and what she is proposing is something called a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And she's in fact proposing that there be the U.S. Treasury buy up at least 5% of the Bitcoins that are available. And that will put the U.S. in a stronger position, both fiscally and as a hedge against inflation. And frankly, if Bitcoin does become a strategic reserve, which seems like it's well on its way, we would be in a strong position globally to control the outcome of where Bitcoin needs to go. But some of the states have more recently jumped in, and I really want to focus a little bit on educating you and sharing with you what the new bill SB 550, which is the senator in Florida, in the state of Florida, where I am, and I know 20 other states are actually proposing similar bills that are on the desk for review and approvals. SB 550 is a bill that was proposed by Senator Joe Gruters in Florida, and effectively that has it was on February 7th that he proposed this, fairly recent, right? And it talks about how state funds can actually be used to purchase Bitcoin. And why would they do that? They would do that because of financial stability, diversification, putting certain assets into place that are digital assets, not just gold, and frankly, a hedge against inflation. So the bill has 4 parts, and I'm going to go through every one of those. And we're going to discuss how the states are getting involved in buying Bitcoin, how federal governments are going to get involved in buying Bitcoin, and what does it mean for the price of Bitcoin for the little guy. So I also have my colleague, Mr. Kirby, Nathan Kirby. Many of you know him. And morning. Good morning to you, Nathan, and welcome to the show.
Thank you,
We're delighted to have you here. Nathan has some amazing insights into how Bitcoin is going to shape the world and the wallets of a lot of average Americans.
Absolutely.
Including doing good and the freedom aspects of it, doing good through nonprofits and charitable organizations. And you've been focusing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about what you're working on.
Well, years ago when I started the foundation, my foundation, the Keep It Check Foundation, you have to, a lot of time you spend is trying to get money to help the foundation move forward, to make other donations. And I was always looking for a way. The dream was to have almost like a perpetual fundraising machine, I would call it. And when I got introduced to Bitcoin, is really what got me involved in Bitcoin in a major way. And I started looking at this. I want to give you some dates just a minute of halvings, and this will make sense in a minute. In 2016, when Bitcoin had its halving, it started out at $665.
No, we should have bought then, right?
Oh my God, yes. 2020, it was $10,000, and this past April, it was $63,000. It's estimated they're going to have Bitcoin will be, its next halving will be $1 million. Who knows where that'll be?
That's what Michael Saylor and these guys are talking about. And there are reasons why they're doing that. We're going to talk about
reasons,
some of
them. Absolutely,
yes,
major
absolutely.
reasons. But I got to think about this. If you look, the biggest organization right now, nonprofit in this country, is called Feeding America. It collected $5.1 billion, $5.1 billion in 2024. If they were to stake 10% of that last year at the halving, okay, they would have staked $50 billion is what they would have staked. Or not 50 billion, $50 million.
Correct.
And they would have taken that money and put it in at 5%. That would kick off in excess of what they need in a year for operating expenses.
Now, hold it right there. Now, this is exactly what the states are thinking that they need to be doing right now, so that they don't miss the boat as Bitcoin goes from 100,000 to 500,000 and then to 1 million. And why would it go? It's self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Absolutely,
because there's scarcity. And what this bill is saying, by the way, I'm going to interject and come right back to Nathan. This bill is saying that Joe Gruters is proposing is, number one, it's giving an authorization to invest in digital assets to the state governments. So that's a really big deal. Once you have that authorizations, it's saying the CFOs are allowed to invest and buy up to 10% of their budgets for certain aspects of the budget, certain types of budget items. 10% they can buy the digital assets, and within the digital assets, of course, this is primarily Bitcoin, right? That's the big elephant. That's the big currency. That's the big storage capital product out there. Second thing is they're establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which is called the SBR. There's going to be a fund which is going to be against inflation hedges and so on and so forth. They're providing in this bill certain investment guidelines, the do's and don'ts. What can you invest in? What can you not invest in? And the fourth aspect of this bill is around monitoring and transparency so that it's very clear where the taxpayer dollars are going, what the CFOs are required to do to provide clarity on what this digital asset is doing. Of course, these in the old world of gold or T-bills or 10-year treasuries, there's a clear and structured way of doing all of these things and bringing transparency to the government, or not so much, if you see what Elon Musk has been doing lately and uncovering. But certainly, as we get into a new asset class that is going to become a significant portion of the reserves, the structure and framework needs to be put in place. Now, that being said, these guys are not the innovators of it. As Nathan is pointing out, individuals have been trying to diversify their portfolios. Now, what we have been seeing with Michael Saylor with his strategy fund, enterprises are converting their debt and their equity into longer-term Bitcoin positions and therefore hedging and getting essentially a 0% loan.
I think it's interesting to go back to Michael Saylor. When he went to the board, his board, and first proposed putting money into Bitcoin, it was not very well received. But the one statement he made to his board was, he says, I have a fiduciary responsibility to bring you what I think the future is going to look like. Are you willing to bet I'm wrong and have to answer to your shareholders?
That's right. He was given 3 minutes to present.
Correct.
And they thought they were going to run him over. Instead, he put a document in front of them and said, go read this. And if you don't, you are now liable for the losses that this company will potentially take.
So when you look at fundamentally Bitcoin as an asset, you think about a company like a nonprofit like Feeding America could take 10% of their annual donations, drop them into Bitcoin, stake that Bitcoin at 4 to 5%, and it will kick off enough revenue to take care of that annual operating budget, and they don't ever have to worry about that again.
Now, of course, that Nathan, while that is true, and they always say past performance is no guarantee for future performance. So we have to make those caveats. But there are rational and good reasons why we would be bullish about the growth of Bitcoin price, right? So once you start to see, right now, 70% of the Bitcoin holdings are with individuals. We have not seen that inflow and influx of large amounts of institutional money, whether the institutions are being created. And Michael Saylor is doing a great job pushing the ETFs and the bigger funds that are giving Bitcoin exposure into broader markets. So that money is going to start to flow in. Now you have the states starting to say that they're going to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Not just the states, the US government has a working group now to potentially create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And the US government's not the only one. You all know, and most of our listeners here are very sophisticated on Bitcoin and looking at world politics. El Salvador has been a very strong proponent of it, and they're setting the model. But I was just looking this morning at the countries that have bills right now in place. We have Germany, we have Russia, we have Brazil, we have major countries that are currently looking at how Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to be part of their framework for capital preservation and frankly for reserves, like any other asset class.
I would like to shift, if we could, a minute, because you and I talked about this earlier. I mean, this is Wall Street stuff. This is multi-billion dollars. What does this mean, not for Wall Street, but for your street? What I see Bitcoin is the ability. When people go through a life-changing or get a diagnosis of cancer or anything like that, everybody I've ever talked to, their mind goes to, oh my God, how am I going to be remembered? How am I going to be remembered? Am I going to be remembered by the tombstone that is going to sit in the graveyard and eventually maybe grown over? I'll spend $10,000 for whatever it is. Guys, I want you to understand something. If you were to donate $10,000 of Bitcoin or $1,000 of Bitcoin right now into a charity, and you could lock it up, and write in a smart contract every 4 years of having that the charity could take 10% of that, your legacy would live on as long as Bitcoin lives on, forever and ever, whatever that looks like. Now, you said a while ago, past performance does not equal future performance. All I can tell you is this, based on what we're looking at with Bitcoin, it kind of reminds me of the sun. It went down yesterday, it come up today. And I'm pretty well sure if you look at that, that is the past performance and the future performance. I don't know what it's going to look like you don't know what. But if you look at the whole economic structure and the change of what we're doing in this world right now, I'm going to bet on Bitcoin.
And that is exactly what Bitcoin Ben has been talking about. Look, there are a lot of us Americans in the hole right now with not enough savings, or burned through over the COVID years. People have faced a lot of hardships. There are some people who are doing better than that, who want to leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren. And what asset are they going to be putting than an asset, as Nathan just said, an asset that's going to actually appreciate in value, that's going to keep the value stored and hedged against inflation. And frankly, no government and no individual can take it away from you. So very, very different. Another aspect of President Trump's executive order was, we will not allow CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, a private key that is controlled by the government. So it was both going towards the open distributed architecture of Bitcoin and also making an explicit statement that no, we are not going towards CBDCs and the globalists controlling your money, and Trudeau being able to shut down the truck drivers because they don't have access to their PayPal account. So that nonsense is what is being addressed by that executive order. But it's very heartening to see that these institutional money, state-funded money, government money, treasuries are starting to take a position. So let's just look at what's going to happen to Nathan's point. So 70% of the Bitcoin are held by individuals. Now suddenly a large ETF or the state of Florida comes and decides, you know what? We're gonna need to buy 100,000 coins. Well, where do these coins come from? Because this is a scarce resource, 21 million coins, right? 19 million out there, less the few coins that are lost in, with the keys are lost, we still have a large number of coins and people who own them. So when the Florida state wants to buy 100,000 coins and no one wants to sell it, well, what's the next step? You increase it to 120, then to 140. So the price is going to continue to go up in a free market economy until you get to that point where somebody says, well, I'm happy to sell 100,000 coins at this point. But at this point, as some people say, it's the hyper growth phase of Bitcoin is starting to feel real. The hyper growth phase says that once you hit that $120,000, the increments at which it's going to move up is going to be not $20.50, it's going to be $10,000, $20,000 increments, because that's the bid and the ask that the bigger buyers are going to be making. If I can't buy 100,000 coins at 140, I'll buy it at 160. So you'll see big candles, you'll see big movements, right? In this. And what does it mean for the average guy, Nathan? So if you're holding a tenth of a Bitcoin, like you said, 1,000, what is your recommendation that people do? Do they go into an accumulation phase? Do they start to, put this together?
Well,
do they stake it? How do you see them?
What you said a while ago, and I saw this stat a while ago or yesterday. It said less than 60% of less than 40% of the people in America has $1,000 in their bank account.
We need to change that.
Less than 12% of the people have $2,000 in their bank account. If you're gonna ever change anything, the change is now. The change is right now for the average person. I did some calculation, and I've had people tell me, "Oh my God, Bitcoin's $100,000. I can't afford a Bitcoin." No, you can't. Okay, I got that. But could you afford a tenth of a Bitcoin? $10,000. Okay, maybe not. But $1,000 right now will buy you 1% of one Bitcoin. And based off the scalability of what's about to take place, that may be all you need to leave for future generations. especially for a nonprofit. Just a little bit. Well, you're talking about scarcity. 21 million Bitcoins, and we've lost whatever we lost. Whatever we lost, it will never be created again. I think I did look the other day. A square foot of land, plot of land in Central Park is worth $1 million. Okay, I can take $1 million on a thumb drive and carry it anywhere in the world. I don't have to be there. People got to understand this is really digital real estate. We come from the real estate world. Bitcoin is digital real estate, but it's not in any one location. I can take it anywhere in the world with me. That's the most incredible concept that I had to wrap my mind around. I used to believe in real estate, and I still do. I'm a real estate agent here, but able to take real estate in my pocket, the value of real estate anywhere in the world, and access it from anywhere in the world. Incredible.
Indeed. And let's just go back to why it becomes so incredible is because we are going to keep a very close eye on these elected politicians. You are the voters. We are the voters. And we voted President Trump into office. And because of that, we're starting to see that shift in policy, that shift coming right from the top, where some more stability is being created. Now, of course, there are going to be, I am sure, some challenges to the bills that are being passed by or being proposed as an SB 550 in Florida. And we're going to have to go through certain hoops to do that. So no one can predict the timing of when the larger institutional flows or the state, strategic Bitcoin reserve will start to accumulate. But one thing is for certain, this momentum, this pioneering effort that has been started has gone beyond the point of no return. Now the Bitcoin blockchain is long enough and strong enough that no amount of computational horsepower can reverse this process. In other words, as we start to go into this ultra growth phase, it is providing a level of stability. It's providing a level of, as they say in business, comfort. When I was running companies as CEO, we always talked about everybody. Are you comfortable with that? And I found that a very fascinating concept. And I'm sitting in this chair, I'm pretty comfortable, but you had to make everybody comfortable. And I think that as I grew in over the years and running businesses, starting to understand that partners and the stakeholders need to be comfortable with what we have. Even a few years ago, and we get it. Volatility can be traded, right? Sarah's trading volatility with his contracts and making a ton of money doing it. But I think we're getting in that phase where federal governments and state governments are starting to feel comfortable. And when they start to feel comfortable, they spend money because they're not seeing that risk portion of the equation is starting to diminish. Monkey see, monkey do. When one government starts to do it and starts to see the benefits of it, another one does it. And this is going to create an upward pressure on the price movement of Bitcoin. And it would be prudent to start to make your own investment, whether it is to dig yourself out of a hole that you have not saved enough for your future, or whether it's to create a legacy for your children and grandchildren, much like the real estate that you talked about, Nathan. This is, more than the digital gold because it does a whole lot more, but it has gotten to that level of stability where federal governments are now willing to consider it as a strategic reserve. And go ahead. Now.
Yeah, so here's the thing I saw with it, the fairness of a Bitcoin. Think about it. If you've got $10 million and I've got $200, I'm going to pay same price for that Bitcoin as you pay for it. Yes, you can get more than I can get, but because you got $10 million doesn't mean you can leverage to get a better deal of Bitcoin than I can get, which is unbelievable out here. What other asset, a stock market, what other asset cannot be manipulated? Every other asset I know can be manipulated through some middleman or for some undercurrent trading. I'm going to pay the same thing for Bitcoin that a millionaire pays for a Bitcoin.
There you go. democracy at its finest.
Yes.
Now, do we have a few more minutes left? Okay. So as we close out our first program, my first program here with you, I'm certainly going to be looking forward to speaking with you and sharing with you some thoughts every Bitcoin Thursday with Dr. J. And the next few topics that I'll be discussing are going to be around energy, because as you know, Bitcoin is driven by energy, by the miners. Massive amounts of power is being converted into digital wealth. And whether it is the supply chains of lithium and cobalt and nickel and copper, gallium and different germanium, rare earth metals that are required to make the chips through which AI mining is happening, through which Bitcoin mining is happening, energy is going to be a very big deal. And to make nice and clean Bitcoin with renewable energies, that's going to be a big part. And I always like to look at investments not just as our first level, but also secondary and tertiary level investments. How do we look at opportunities that Bitcoin ecosystem is going to spawn over the next several decades? And I think the conversation about energy and renewables and the conversion of green hydrogen and producing power to power this digital economy, the trade wars with China, with the trade wars around the rare earth elements, the purchasing of Greenland, building better relationships with Russia, getting all the rare earths from Ukraine, $500 billion of it. So these are all facets at a macro level that are going to, at the end of the day, affect the price at which that Bitcoin moves in your wallet. With that, thank you very much for joining my show. I look forward to speaking with you again next Thursday. God bless you, and God bless America.
In a world where your data is constantly under attack, one company stands for your digital freedom. Introducing Calyx Solutions, your gateway to ultimate online privacy and secure cryptocurrency trading. Meet the Liberty Laptop. With its modified OS and advanced tracking prevention, it's your shield against surveillance. Access restricted areas, use recommended security software, and browse with confidence. Your digital footprint? Virtually non-existent. For the crypto pros, we present the Crypto Laptop. Pre-configured on premium hardware for secure trading. Optimized for your favorite wallets and exchanges, it's the fortress your digital assets deserve. Both laptops come with expert individual training and support. You're never alone in your journey to digital empowerment. At Calyx Solutions, we put you in control. No more worrying about data breaches or compromised transactions. Ready to join the revolution? Visit calyxsolutions.io and choose your perfect laptop today. Plus, become an affiliate and earn while sharing the power of digital freedom. Calyx Solutions. Unlock your digital freedom. Give us a call or text at 702-845-8276 or visit us directly at calyxsolutions.io.